Meetup Plus, Micah Pierce for Professor Grew's CS 230. The group I chose for Meetup was Silicon Valley Generative AI. Here's their information. The specific meetup was the large language models and their impacts. It was on Monday, March 20th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. The location was online at Zoom and it ran until about 7:30. It was hosted by Matt W. Here is a blurb from Matt's website, mattwhite.com. The subjects we discussed were: have large language models solved language, approaching sentience, economic impacts of large language models. Who I met with was Matt White. Here's the question and the response. My thoughts on the meetup. It was very chaotic. I was hoping to have a lot more information about large language models, but there was a lot of discussions concerning really highbrow philosophical topics that didn't seem to have a lot of bearing, and most people didn't seem to be experts. We did move around to the economic portion, which a lot more people had some interesting thoughts on, primarily like variations on different forms of Keynesianism. Uh, that is when a lot of fear was present in the group. People were concerned about what the future was going to look like under these models, whether or not their jobs are going to be secure, that type of stuff. Like I said, low information. There wasn't. It was a lot of speculation and not actually a lot of detail. There were some pre-readings that were fairly useful, but anybody who had been following large language models would be used to or familiar with those topics. Everyone had an opinion, which was nice. It was enjoyable to have an open forum discussion. My club meeting was the IEEE Pioneer Branch 3923. Here are the things that were discussed: membership details, IEEE CSU East Bay branch election results, Region 6 Central Area Spring Meeting, IEEE Artificial Intelligence Conference, events in the works, their recap and social media communications, and some questions were answered for members. Um, I wish that I had more time to participate in this group. Some of these events seemed really interesting, and the people who were in the meeting were also like really energetic and engaged with the topics. Here's a question from Stack Overflow that saved me in CS 311. It has to deal with interfaces and the interesting way that Go language, which is what we are using for our primary model in programming language concepts, handles function calls and interfaces. This question is a really, really succinct, or this answer rather, is a really succinct way to discuss this problem. If you're working in interfaces in Golang and you have an issue with not fully implementing your interface at compile time, I highly recommend checking this out. Finally, this is my GitHub. GitHub is a really excellent repository for documentation primarily. Um, I don't use it, and I should, but I just haven't gotten around to actually uploading the code that I store on external hard drives into GitHub. And that concludes my presentation.